Hi there, this is Nick broadcasting again on the Get Me Off Grid video blog, which is a fundraising blog which I'm using to raise funds so that I myself can get to completely off grid, or as far as I possibly can. There is a donation link in the information box which you can go to and actually give just 50 cents, 25 cents, 50 pence, whatever you got, just to try and help to bring the totals up slowly and surely. The first part of the project will of course be buying the land, then of course there'll be the construction of the building, and so on and so forth. And with the passage of time you'll start to see the dream becoming reality, and the things that I'll be discussing on this YouTube channel will be usable by anybody who is interested in trying to save money, trying to become less dependent upon the grid, so to speak, and all the energy giants and so on and so forth for your day-to-day requirements. That's essentially what I'm working up to, so it'll be worthwhile making a donation in exchange for the information you'll be receiving here, that you personally will be receiving. You can go to my channel page on this particular YouTube channel and you'll be able to go through some of the other videos and get some ideas as to what you personally can do to try and cut down your reliance upon basically the outside world and perpetually spending money to corporations and companies for the things that you need on a regular basis. So we're talking about saving money, we're talking about saving the planet, we're talking about saving the environment and everything else associated with that here on this YouTube channel. Don't forget to use the subscribe button and subscribe, and then you'll be getting regular updates and seeing what I'm talking about and how far I'm taking things. Today I'm just going to talk to you about water. Now, if you're aspiring to get off grid, then essentially you're going to have to think about water. Water for cooking, water for drinking, washing, flushing the toilet, other cleaning purposes around the house, and of course washing your clothes. And that's essentially quite a big issue if you think about it. If you're not going to have any pipework coming from the mains water to where you are, how on earth are you going to look after your water? Sure, you can dig a well, provided of course your location will be okay, and then yes, you'll be able to pump some from the water table itself. Secondly, you'll be getting an awful lot of it from rainwater. Now, think about it. What is all this water going to be used for? Alright, how much of it is going to go towards flushing the toilet if you're going to have a flushing toilet or flush into your septic tank? I mean, currently you're living in a house and you've probably got water coming straight from the mains or from your storage tank in the loft, which is going to be used to flush the toilet. That's essentially a water reserve of fresh water. Now there's something called grey water. I don't know whether you've heard of it. That's the water that goes down the drain after you've done the washing up. That's the water that goes out of the washing machine once you've done your washing, and essentially it is used dirty water. Now essentially if you had a bit of plumbing arrangement, so you had a storage tank, one that's sunk into the ground, where all of your grey water can go, the water that you've washed with when you had your shower, the water you wash your hands and face with before and or after a meal or before going out, all of that can then be reused. You can have a pump system to be able to take that grey water and use that on your garden. Alright. Now of course it would help if you used an environmentally friendly washing powder, an environmentally friendly soap, shampoo, as well as washing up liquid. But essentially you could still use that grey water. That's one particular solution. But what about the water you're actually showering with? How are you going to be able to find a way of cutting that down? Cutting down the usage without cutting down on your personal hygiene? Well, simply use atomizers. Okay, now atomizer sprays are just as efficient as a running water tap at getting you clean. That's for when you're washing your hands and your face. That's for when you're having a shower. You have an atomizer head on the shower itself and you wash all over with that. And that uses up much less water. Showering uses up less water than having a proper bath anyway. So you've got to bear that in mind. But if you were to have a shower with an atomizer head, you'll be using even less water again, and of course less energy to be able to raise the water to the right and required temperature. So essentially it's an energy saving thing basically all round. As far as water capture is concerned, the best way of doing that would be of course from your roof, because that's quite a large surface area and all the drains can go essentially into water butts. What you do with the water butts, if you want to use that water for drinking, would be to pass it through something called a slow sand filter. Now, a slow sand filter is basically a large barrel. You've got large rocks at the bottom, you've got stones above that, you've got pebbles above that, you've got gravel above that, and the top half of it would in fact be sand. And as the water flows down onto the sand, you'd have to have a stone for the water to hit. Okay, it comes through the system and would hit the top of the stone. It would then move forward and bacteria would start to emerge around the surface. The bacterial mat itself acts like a filter and will filter out more and more bacteria and debris, and the result is that you've got water which is bacteria free and is basically good enough to drink. So that's one particular way of doing it. But what about in the case of drought? Now, as long as you've got a well, you should be okay and you should be able to get some water. But if you don't have the benefits of having a well, basically what else are you going to do to be able to keep the garden growing? Well, that's when you use something called Peltier coolers. Now, these are small thermoelectric devices, which if you apply heat to one side and cold to the other, so you've got a temperature differential, an electrical charge will be generated. So you can use them for electric generation, but also if you pass a charge through them, and I wrote about this when I was using the Urgent Evoke blog, which was set up as part of the United Nations Let's Get Some Ideas to Try and Save the Planet type initiative. What you can do is you can cool down one side and warm up the other. Now, the reason why we've got clouds in the sky is because there's a certain level called the condensation level, which is cold enough for atmospheric water to actually become water vapor, rather than actually be more invisible as it is at ground level. When you got like a mist or a fog, that's essentially a cloud at ground level. So essentially, if you had a cold surface and a large enough cold surface that was cold enough, then you could use that to actually condense water, and you can collect some of the water and give that to your plants. So you have a bank of Peltier coolers, all of them with heat sinks on them, made from 316 grade stainless steel. Okay, and you have a funnel arrangement underneath each one. You have a solar panel which is not connected at all to the solar electricity which you'll need for your domestic use, and that goes purely for the generation of water. Okay, as the water will have come from the water vapor, it may still need to have some impurities removed from it, so again it can go through a slow sand filter, and there's other ways of removing some of the minerals and debris and other stuff which may have accumulated as the water will have gone through the atmosphere, which I'll be covering in a later video. But essentially that's a way of reducing your need to basically panic if there is, let's say, a hosepipe ban or a water shortage in the height of the summer. So there's lots of ways in which one can arrange one's plumbing so you can store grey water and use that on the garden. There's lots of ways in which you can use the right kind of taps and the right kind of shower heads to reduce your water consumption. Okay, and there's also ways in which you can gather water from the air itself. These are things you've got to bear in mind if you're going to go completely and utterly off-grid, or you want to cut down on your water bills. These days people have to pay for their water usage, and as a result of that it actually gets a little more of a domestic expense just for people who are, running a flat or running a household. And if you wanted to save on that, then you yourself have got to get the right kind of taps and the right kind of shower heads in order to try and reduce the quantity of water that you're using, which will also be beneficial not only for yourselves, but also for the rest of your local society, because everyone is, dependent upon the water mains. Do I have enough faith that I personally could do completely without water from the outside? I'm not sure if I do. But essentially, if I do my calculations properly and I work out how much I'm using for showering, for doing the washing up and all the rest of that, and I can make a good calculation of the energy expenditure as well, I should be able to come to a good idea as to what kind of system to design and put together when we've got the land together, when we've got the property together, so when one can save water tremendously and still be able to live a very comfortable style of life. That's what I'm working up towards. Don't forget to subscribe. Don't forget to leave a donation via the information box, and I will look forward to speaking to you again soon on the Get Me Off Grid video blog. Speak to you in a while. Bye for now.